Hello, welcome to the Record Celtic podcast brought to you by NordVPN. My name is Daniel Conn. I'm delighted to be joined by two different Record Sport reporters who were at Easter Road yesterday. Graeme Young and Michael Gannon. Guys, how's it going?
Very well. Very well.
I'm good. Obviously, listen, I don't know, you guys are a little bit younger than me, but it's today, what is it? May the 4th, it's Star Wars Day, isn't it? So I was going to start with a kind of Star Wars joke, but I thought I didn't want to force it.
Oh.
I'd have loved that.
Get it out of the way early. The wife said that if I make any Star Wars jokes, she'd leave me, but divorce is strong with that one. Right, that's me done. I'm done. I promise you.
That was better than it could. I thought, mate. That was good. I like
nice day. I was going to go for a walk. Right, I'm definitely done now. Sorry.
Thanks for joining us in this week's podcast. We're going to leave it there. Graeme, how are you?
Very well, mate. Very well. It was good. Just feels it's all happening, isn't it? Like it's just a proper. We've had title races, but we've not had freeway title races. So I think that added element makes it pretty exciting.
Aye, definitely. Well, look, as I say, you guys were both at Easter Road yesterday. It's the only place for us to start. I kind of talked to you on the Hotline Live last night, Mick. You know, it wasn't pretty again. I feel like most Celtic games now are a nerve-shredding ordeal. But again, they got 3 points. They found a way.
Yeah, I think we're now at the stage where you've actually we've spent all season kind of putting the boot in Celtic and telling people what they've not got, what they haven't signed, and where they made a mistake, and all the muck-ups they've had. I mean, no list as long as your arm. And they haven't gone away, right? But I think now at the point that's like, listen, they've won 5 in the bounce. They're still right in the hunt. I mean, we're obviously recording this before Hearts and Rangers tonight. But they're right in the thick of it. You've got to say, listen, fair play to them. I mean, I think this season could easily be written off as a dud year. Too many things going wrong. Managerial changes, chaos, fans in the huff, you name it. Injuries. I mean, a long list of problems that could have kind of torpedoed the season. But it's still there. They could end up with a league and cup double, which would be incredible. So I think most fans are on that boat. They're kind of parking all the resentment, parking all the animosity, and think, you know what, this is quite exciting. And if they can pull it off, it'd be quite incredible. And listen, they get Celtics under Martin O'Neill. They do get results. I mean, we were talking about the other day. I mean, they've dropped points in some games since Martin O'Neill came back. But you look at it, he drops points at Tynecastle, 2 each draws, a good result anyway. But it was a late goal from Hearts against 10 men. It was the often trusty kind of slightly controversial last man red card. They lose to Hibs at home. Again, Trusty sent off for the karate chop, but there's a penalty kick shout with Liam Scales that wasn't given. So that game is a bit of a funny one. They drew at Ibrox, which was a good result. Having 2-0 down, come back to 2 each was a great result.
Yep. And
then the one stinker was Tannadice. They lost. I mean, Tannadice really poor performance. But apart from that, they've been winning games. And there seems to be, they don't play particularly great. And they go through these spells in games when they don't do anything. I mean, they got literally stop functioning and just exist. Nothing really happens. And they can doze off. And even after going 2-1 ahead on Sunday, they should really have around so they get comfortably. But a couple of wee nervy moments at the end again as well. But they got over the line and fair play to them. That's 5 wins in the bounce, put them in a cup final and put them in the frame for the title. So they're doing it. And having written them off all season, I'm now thinking that they're the ones that have got a lot of guys in that squad who have got winning titles in their CV. And some of these guys are proving it. They're digging. I mean, Callum McGregor, Arthur Johnson coming back. I mean, it's handy that Ian Nacho. I've seen somebody slagging me off for my pronunciation of it. I'm not going to get it now, so no point even trying. Kelechi, he's scored 4 goals in the last 5 games. Made us similar. So they got hit the front at the right time. So they're in the front. They're in the fight. I don't know. Maybe they're going to pull this off. I don't know what you think, G.
I know. I think you've surmised it. That bit he talks about, the bit where they merely exist during games. Mm-hmm. It's just this weird part of it, this crazy story that's been Celtic's 25-26 season. It's just been so bizarre. But I actually quite liked the way Celtic played even before the red card. I thought there was a bit more intent. The main thing is, how, I think we've touched upon this season, where a team that's off the ball, it's always one player that will fix it. When this player comes back, they'll do this. But the thing was, Alistair Johnson was a difference maker. Just the way he would either go round Yang or cut inside, or he just looked. The way he's come back here is really impressive. He's obviously a proper player. I think Martin O'Neill always does a job of not playing down players' impact, but he even couldn't hide after the match. I think he had a line about guys at the club have told me how much a serious player Alistair Johnson is, and now he's seen it for himself. I think that helped in the early part of the game. They were guilty over playing too much at the edge of the box. The amount of times it was maybe 5 versus 4, and it's pass and sideways, and Nygren, for all his qualities, when he's not scoring, he's got this knack of kind of drifting across this pitch with the ball, and then he just goes into traffic. I don't think that helped him much. Taneke, there's an issue here as well, because Mick and I were talking yesterday about this. The player that was introduced to Celtic fans was, if nothing else, was daring, and he's willing to take players on, and even if he lost it. And that was his weakness, the fact that he wasn't a consistent winger. He's been reduced to this kind of shelly a player who wants to pass it back. He's not really a good foil with Kieran Tierney. It doesn't work the way wingers in the past that you think, like Scott Sinclair, who also like to cut inside, but Taneke just doesn't, when he zigs, he zags, he doesn't do what he's meant to. It never really flows with him. And I think the reason he's playing is just Maeda's form as the 9 right now is so good that you need a body in the left. They obviously viewed Forrest as an impact sub yesterday. That was it. Forrest is obviously regarded highly. When he started against Falkirk, it wasn't perfect. So I think they sacrificed him starting yesterday, and that's how Taneke did start. Yang probably slightly better than Taneke, but again, it's not that. The level of quality in the final third's not there. But I think there was a lot to like. There was a bit as well in the second half where it was a game that Celtic couldn't not win, considering how they dominated. They were playing 10 men. But it was 68 minutes, 71 minutes, and you're looking, it's 1 each, and they're not creating chances in a game that you had. It's just, and it sums this season up to singular moments where players manage, and Iheanacho for all he's obviously not match fit, but he seems to be embracing that trait you need as a Celtic talisman, where you can come on and make a difference, and in these kind of cameo roles it suits him very well. But I think Mick summed it up perfectly. We know what this Celtic team are. They're not going to change now, but they also have a kind of grit about. They're quite weirdly likeable in a way that they're kind of sticking around. That I think they've actually got a decent rapport with the fans now. The fans are on side completely, in the sense the days of protest are gone. It's come on the hoops from a chant for years gone by that just rings out for first minute to last. So I think everyone knows what they are and what they need to do, and they seem as good a bet as anyone to kind of get it over the line now.
See, on the game itself, well, before we come on to the title race and stuff and upcoming fixtures, I might be nitpicking here, but what did you guys make of Sinisalo for the goal? I thought he was a wee bit unconvincing, and I thought that if Kasper Schmeichel had conceded that, I don't know, the handball and all that as well, but I thought Schmeichel would be getting dog's abuse if that was him.
I thought he was a wee bit. I mean, listen, I think there was a few errors in that move. I think Liam Scales gives the ball away. I think Taneke gives a free kick away that's needless.
Aye.
The free kick's not defended properly at the back post. And I thought, I think Sinisalo didn't look that convincing coming through the crowd. What I would say is, I think his handling in Commanding's era has been good. I mean, I think in certain games, I think Ibrox especially, he did come and take crosses. He did come out and punch. I thought he was good at that. I think in that instance, I thought he looked a wee bit. He got caught up in the traffic and a bit of a flap at it, didn't he? But the goal shouldn't have stood anyway. I mean, he should have got off the hook, because it shouldn't have stood. Because the more you see it, the more you wonder how that was given. When you
it's wild how that was given. Like really, really wild how that was given.
Yeah, I mean, Johnny will play basketball on the edge of the 6-yard box, score in the back of the net. You think it's a bit of a strange one. I mean, the theory was that it wasn't conclusive. I'm not entirely sure what more you need to see. I mean, you can see the ball path deviating down the arm and onto the wrist. So I must admit, that was the thing, mate. Listen, you're going to get. We're now firmly in the tinfoil hat conspiracy zone, and every club supporter now in this race is saying that they're getting favourable decisions and they're getting ones against them, and the whole world was against us. So, but there's no doubt. I mean, right card, right decision. The goal that made his first goal was flagged offside and it was correctly overturned. So that's good decisions caught, not on the pitch but caught by VAR. I thought the Neil one was a strange one to be allowed. It changed the kind of game. And I've now looked back again in the penalty shout for the Negrin, the push on Negrin.
I was going to bring it up, Mick.
Yeah, I mean, I know we didn't really, wasn't much made of it at the time at the ground because it was a kind of tussle and they're at a touchline and the ball was kind of almost kind of out the way at that point. I can see why there's a bit of a cry for penalties, for penalty for that one. I'm not sure, but listen, he's put his hands on him and pushed him. So in the letter of law, I think that. Aye. But where the ball is at the time and what the advantage is, I don't know. I mean, these days the rules are so convoluted. If it's a penalty kick given there, would it be contentious? Maybe not. Maybe it would have been a penalty. I don't know. I don't know how you've seen it. I mean, we didn't really make much of it at the time, did we? I mean, Graeme, it was a shout for Maida in the first half. When nicked in front of Jordan Smith and he went down and he didn't really claim for it.
I didn't claim.
I thought the goalie was a wee bit behind it, and I thought he might have caught him, but it didn't come to anything. But that was the one that the Negrin one was the one that had people up in arms. I think eventually, maybe I don't know what it was at the time, but maybe eventually.
Well, I mean, last night on Hotline Live, a lot of the commenters were saying, what about that one? And I mentioned, I don't know if you heard it, Graeme, but John Collins last night, we did a story on Record Sport Online. He was saying if they can't spot that foul in Negrin, they should be sacked of our team, which was a bit but.
I got this. I know it was pretty emotive language, but I got the sentiment what he was meaning in the sense. Can you imagine if that was one each? It's like it's one of these ones where it's so daft the foul, isn't it? But when you look at it, you slow it down and he pushes them 2 hands out the pitch, but they're on the so. It's one of these ones where at the time, as Mick says, there felt like the big incident was new, but in the cold light of day when you look at it, it's another one as well where I don't know how Willie Collum, do you know when he does the VAR show, if that was one that I don't know what the compelling argument against it would be. Now I know it's obviously Mick's making the point about where the ball is, but it feels it's a pretty deliberate foul in the box. It's a professional foul, isn't it? So it probably meets a lot of criteria for awarding a spot kick. But
my only thinking is that I think the more you see it, you think, you can see a penalty, but he's got his body ahead of Negrin and he's ushering the ball to safety at the time, and his hands are on him, but the shove, the two of them are kind of flying into the park when he's shoving them. Mm-hmm. So is that happened after the ball is out? The two of them at the park. Then
I know what you mean.
They still run round and I guess and pick it up, I suppose. So yeah, if it's a penalty kick, I don't think anyone could have any complaints. So yeah, I think Okay, what I'm saying is that maybe that one is a bit one you could argue with. I don't think you can argue the renewal, but I think you could argue the toss about the Negrin shove.
Well, I mean,
I don't think officials in terms of on the pitch and in the VAR hut had a great day on Sunday in general. No. Can
you imagine it finished 1-1 with that new goal? I mean, there'd been riots. Honestly, I mean, it would have been chaos if that goal had stood.
But when you think, the thing is, though, that goal does stand and it's changed the game. Certainly, I'm kind of a bit, I'm not saying panicky, but they're having to dig out a victory from a strong position. And then you look at the Negrin penalty kick. I mean, it could have been a 3-0 game, and all of a sudden we could get a goal difference.
Aye.
They couldn't get into that last game of the season against Hearts, needing to win 2-0 or 3-0. And there's 2 goals or 2 potential turning points in the one game. So these are decisions that have got massive ramifications. So I understand why people are kind of getting up in arms. I just hope that there isn't any more of these in the next week and a half, because we don't want leagues decided by controversy. We want it done on the pitch.
Definitely. See what you're just saying there, Dan, about goal difference. It takes me back years, a long time. 2003, the Seville season. When Rangers obviously won. Celtic played Dundee the week before. The game got brought forward, and Celtic were just on a goal hunt that night, just trying to get as close as they could to Rangers, because Rangers were going to Tynecastle on the Sunday. And it just makes you think Martin O'Neill in the different eras of Celtic, where he had a team at that time which could literally go hunting for goals and try and put. But now, even though he would like the goal difference, I think he's perfectly aware that just winning the game is important. Now, I know yesterday there could have been a series of events. It felt if it stayed 1-0 at half time, they could have been able to go on and maybe do that. But it just shows you where the powers of a team of yesteryear, that they were able to really put it on a team like that, like Dundee at the time. I mean, I think it was Barry Smith that was like awake. They had a send-off for Seville after it, and I think O'Neill knew it was going to be very tight when it came down to goal difference. But I think that if they get to the last day 3 points behind Hearts, and it's a win, and you need to win convincingly, these wee moments could obviously play an impact or have an impact. But I think Neil would just gladly take where like there's so it's 4 now, isn't it? It's
four goals worse off than Hearts, and
that would mean you would probably factor in a Hearts win maybe if you're looking at it that way. It's less likely to come down to goal difference without with Hearts not winning, so to speak. So you're probably looking at that element of both of them kind of winning out, but it's obviously every goal, every point matters, doesn't it? It's a fascinating kind of extra layer when you get 3 teams involved. So very exciting.
I do think every goal really could matter. You know, it really could. Looking at that again, I mean, 7 goals worse off than Rangers, and 4 worse off than Hearts. Obviously, as you said, Mick, we're recording this, excuse me, ahead of Hearts versus Rangers at Tynecastle.
Yeah,
it really is that nip and tuck that, honestly, if Celtic won by another goal or 2 yesterday, it could make all the difference.
It does, but listen, we're highlighting these instances and it's going against Celtic, but there has been times, I mean, before we get to tinfoil hat, I remember the Oxley Chamberlain looking like sent off against Mull when they go and win the game. Right. There's been a few others as well that have kind of fallen in their favour. So it's the old phrase about it balancing itself out over the course of the season, isn't it? Yeah. Just at this point in time, it's so focused that everything matters, every single thing. If Celtic lose the title on goal difference, it's not because of decisions at Easter Road. It's because they never signed a decent striker all season, and the one decent one they've got was never fit. So I don't think you can hang your hat on that being the cause of falling a goal short. So yeah, and likewise, I mean, Martin, we're talking about the Dundee game. He still talks about that Dundee game, that goal that Dundee scored late on. It haunts him. Haunts his
what was the score? Was it not like 6-2 that night or something like that?
It was 6-1 and they scored in the last few minutes, and it was like. And I think Martin said that he thought right away that could be a damaging goal. And it proved to be. But yeah, so I don't think you can say that these are going to be the instances that decide it. It's more the case of not having the firepower, but they're still in there. But I think it's because I touched on it earlier. Ian Atchell coming into form is a big deal. Yeah. So they need a striker they could rely on, and unfortunately they can rely on him, but there's a caveat. They can't rely on him for 90 minutes. I mean, when the big man's celebrations, a wee jog, and you understand it, but that's him at full sprint. I'm not entirely sure why he's no match fit or he can't do 90 minutes.
I was going to ask this: is that? I mean, is there any prospect in the final 3 or 4 games he might start a game? He might.
I don't think it's 90 minutes. He looked. Me and Graeme noticed that after he only played 20 odd minutes on Sunday, and he looked tired at the end. He looked pretty shattered by the end. So you get half an hour. You get half an hour, 40 minutes of him, and I think they just have to accept that's where he is. Quite why at 29 that's the case now. He's been back playing since February. Not played an awful lot of football, but he's been playing. He's had less than 800 minutes all season. Still managed 7 goals and an assist in less than 800 minutes. So he's producing the goods when he's on the park. It's just that they can't get the full time at him. But it seems to be working. This setup we made our start in the game, and then him coming on when they need a goal. It seems to kind of work. It means that Celtic probably aren't going to get any game where they're sitting now with 2 or 3 goal cushion and going to fairly relaxed. It's not really happening, is it? No. And if people are going to say, do you start him against Rangers? And you can't start him against Rangers because he is the, in case of emergency, break glass option again. If they need a goal in the last half an hour or so. So I don't see him starting against Rangers.
What about Reo Hatate, Graeme? I picked Mick's brain about this last night. Didn't get off the bench again yesterday. It feels like it wasn't that long ago that he came on at Ibrox and completely changed the game. But that was the league game, wasn't it? It wasn't the cup game. Yeah. And he came on when Celtic were 2-0 down, was man in the match, and as I say, completely turned the game on its head. But now, for whatever reason, Martin O'Neill obviously feels like he can't trust him.
Yeah.
I mean,
I probably go against the grain with Hatate in the sense, as good as that cameo was against Rangers, I probably deep down didn't expect it to last much longer. I just feel probably the way I would sum it up. Do you remember the great game against Leipzig the season before last? And he scored that night. It was amazing. And the 3 games after it, you just always expect him to back it up. And even the highs of his early time, like the moments, there was always wee times where those stray passes and it just whatever. The good we know about, he's so creative. He can find half spaces and the team moves in a different style when he's on the pitch. But I just think there's too many negatives at this point. I think the near moves, and if Martin O'Neill just, listen, it's a hard balance with him. I think everyone can see his talent, but it's quite clear that we've passed a good couple of weeks now where he's not even got on the pitch. I know he nearly in the cup semi-final. It doesn't look like that's going to change. I just don't see him getting dropped in against Rangers next week. It just doesn't look like that's the direction of travel. But I think it's a kind of cautious tale of Celtic at their best have also been very good when they sell at the right time, and they've been left with this player that probably should have gone for more money than he will when he leaves. Still kind of lingering about's harsh, but just he is capable of moments of brilliance, like the way he played at Ibrox. But I just don't think Martin O'Neill trusts what he brings to the team, and whatever Nygren, for all his faults, I think he's more accountable in his current form than what Hatate is. So him as Nygren's the most attacking player, then lets you get Engels, gets the legs back in the midfield. I felt for Engels a wee bit yesterday in the sense that I think O'Neill probably thought it was going to be a bit more end-to-end game, and he used his kind of more athleticism when it became they just were pinned in, and his set pieces weren't probably up to the standard they should have been. And then Cal McGregor looked fitter yesterday than he has in about 6 weeks, so he's the obvious candidate. So there probably isn't an obvious position for Hatate to start. Maybe it's a surprise he's not coming off the bench, but there's no doubt that there's been it's made clear Martin O'Neill's intentions by the fact he's not coming off the bench or coming on to change the game. I think it's clear that it's near the end. But he has been a talented player for a long time. I think he could sit there and reel off all his achievements and what he's been able to. But they're just that false dawn after the Rangers game probably sums up the player that he's become in this kind of last 18 months. That it's a bit unfulfilled, unfortunately.
I think he's also been slightly kind of caught in the recent style of games, because the way it's gone in the last few weeks, Celtic haven't been chasing. They managed to kind of get away from this last 5-minute dash for goals. They've been getting the goals about 70 minutes these days, rather than 85. And I think Martin O'Neill stumbled across his kind of a favoured starting 11 that gets either a lead or at least stays in the game before he goes looking for the goal. And you think when you be putting on Hatate probably in search of a goal, it might be that you can go at that period of time it's more kind of protecting what they've got. So at 72 minutes, scoring 72 minutes, that point, would you put on Hatate before then? Maybe, but then you get the goal, you're not putting him on because you can't risk him giving the ball away at that time. Listen, Celtic did that anyway. So you maybe have an Oxlade-Chamberlain or even a Luke McCowan who's a bit more stable on the ball. I think so. I think the way the game management's kind of gone along in the last few weeks, it's changed things slightly for Hatate and his role in the team. But then you look at the cup game at 2 each. You think extra time. You think they're going to put him on there, try and go and win the game. Didn't get a sniff. I think clearly O'Neill is just not having him.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, I just get that. I mean, he talks him up. We've asked about him about the last 2 or 3 weeks. What's happening with Reo Hatate? He's he's working really hard in just circumstances. I just get the feeling that he's just maybe, like Graeme said, he's got trust issues. He's got this game model that seems to be working at the moment, and he's not going to shake it up with. Let's be honest, Hatate, I think he's on his days as good as it gets. Mm-hmm. He's a bit of a maverick, and maybe at this point in time, O'Neill thinks I can't be carrying mavericks. I need the guys who I can rely on to get about it. But as a bit of a mystery. I mean, and again, we'll be asking about it again this week, and when we get to talk to Martin on Friday, because it is something you were wondering. Like, we were joking last week about going to the Ballot suite. I was kind of tongue in cheek saying that, but it looks as though he's got the ball and backpack in. He's in there already.
Aye, I mean, I just only bring it up because at Celtic, people talk about a lack of quality, and I know for his lack of discipline at times, he's got a lot of quality. But
would you not say as well, Dan, quickly, that the thought of Reo Hatate being a fringe man in a Celtic team that's not working a couple of years ago would be incomprehensible. And I think for all his brilliant traits, I think he's always benefited, and probably deservedly so, that those games where he would hit defenders off their bum and the passes are haywire, but it's always, it's all right, it's Reo, he'll fix it, and it'll be he's worth whatever comes with the mistakes. But it's just not that way anymore, is it? That's just, I think the team's evolved or he's regressed.
Time's getting away from us, guys, but before we wrap up, there is, if you're watching this, you can see on your screen the post-split league fixtures. So 3-1 win over Falkirk, 2-1 over Hibs, and then Rangers this Sunday, 12 o'clock. Do you know, I don't know what you guys think. I think the Rangers and Hearts games at Celtic Park will kind of take care of themselves, if that makes sense. You know, the atmosphere will be bouncing, and, you know, as we said, the fans are all unified now. That Motherwell game away is the one that kind of jumps out to me as a big stumbling block.
What? Yeah. I think I was right, but I get it, right, because Motherwell's performance at Ibrox last week was so good, right? But that was our first win since February. I mean, they've lost 1, 2, 3, 5 at the last 7 and 1 draw in there at home to Hibs, and the one win was at Ibrox. So, yeah, and any other time, just looking at the raw stats, you'd be thinking, why would anyone be terrified of a team that's won 1 game since Valentine's Day? Do you know what I mean? So, the Motherwell thing, I'm not saying Motherwell are a myth, right? That's not my headline. For Motherwell's a myth. I don't think they're a myth. They're a good side. The manager's got the absolute best out of his squad. They play great football when they're playing well. I watched them against Falkirk weekend. They weren't great. So I get the kind of, because what they did to Celtic around at Christmas time, they gave Celtic an absolute doing at Fir Park. But that was a different time. That was the kind of the dark days of Wilfred Nancy's rather strange selection formation issues, and Motherwell picked that apart. So I don't think it's the same Celtic team as it was back then. You also don't know what Motherwell, what the state of play will be in terms of the European qualifications at that point either. But I don't think Celtic should be having sleepless nights about Fir Park. I think they need to. It's all about this game against Rangers on next Sunday. This is the one that's going to be, because the Celtic need to win. I think they need to win the 3 games. I don't think they can muck about. They might, if Hearts and Rangers draw tonight, they maybe could draw it and then wait and see what happens. I think so. It could, depends on the results here, but Celtic should be thinking go and win the game next week against Rangers.
Do you fancy them to win that game, Graeme?
I can see why it kind of sticks out, but Mick does make a compelling argument that maybe Celtic's greatest strength heading into this is that the Laura Motherwell's greater than the team they're going to play on the night, in the sense that if you believe that you're going to be playing this, and I know Mick, I get exactly what he's meaning, because he's not talking Motherwell down, but you have to get to a point where if they're not winning games, you can't elevate them to a status that they're not performing to. But everyone's seen, I think, why people rate Motherwell so highly is they look like a team that's come over in Champions League qualifying, and you go, this team, and this is how they look the real deal. Motherwell don't play like this. There's not been many Scottish teams that dominate the ball and when they move and everyone's aligned and they score these great team goals. So I can see the fear, but maybe that does help Celtic, and they also will, by the time they get to Fir Park, Hearts will already have been there on the Saturday night. So that result might have already given Motherwell 4th. Might have tied that up, and it also might just be one. Who knows? They might have played the game of their life against Hearts, and maybe they don't have the same game in them against them. So there's so many variables with that. But I get what you're saying with how the two against title rivals, Rangers and Hearts at Celtic Park, this takes care of itself. But for Celtic as well, I don't think they need any extra motivation. But it's been a while since they beat Rangers in regulation, hasn't it? It's been been a 90-minute win. I think you go back to, what was that, August 24. So it's nearly coming up for 2 years. So that
was that the last time, man?
The one Kyogo, Maeda and Cal McGregor scored that 3-0.
Engels' debut.
Engels' debut, that's it. So listen, that's a wee bit skewed as well. They're able to win cup finals, and I get a couple of draws at Ibrox and so forth. But I think just that kind of definitive kind of performance. But again, we know that Celtic team, I don't think they've got that kind of masterclass performance in them. It will probably be how they've managed to win the last few games as well. But I can see why Fir Park kind of looms large, but it may well be that might be the easiest of the games. You just don't know how it's going to play out. I think that's all these matches look brilliant on paper, or treacherous on paper at least anyway.
Very last thing, guys. Rangers is the next game. How are they going to get on? What's your predictions?
See, I think I genuinely, I've been seeing this for a few days. I think it's impossible to predict, because I think it depends so much on what happens at Tynecastle. I just think the way Rangers play, I wouldn't be surprised if Rangers went to the way my scenario in my head is that if Rangers win at Tynecastle, I think Celtic will beat them at Parkhead on Sunday. I think that they're going into that game with so much at stake. I think Celtic win that game. If Rangers lose at Tynecastle and pretty much are out the title race, I think they've got a bit of a free hit at Celtic on the Sunday. I think they go and win the game Sunday. So I think Celtic fans should be hoping that Rangers beat Hearts, and then I think that's that. I think that's how it's all in terms of the link now. If Rangers lose to Hearts, they beat Celtic. If they beat Hearts, they lose to Celtic. That's how is that right? Aye. So that's how I think it'll unfold. So that's my caveat. Because if you're listening to it after the game, then you can spin it either way. You can cut it either way. Yeah.
Would you think, Graeme?
I think Celtic win the game. I've got to this. It's almost, there's this feeling that there's that level of ease with the team where it's like, oh, it's not a classic Celtic team and all this. But I just think the signs over the last few weeks, muscle memory, the way that there's certain players that have been here and done it, and I think that feeling of controlling the game, that's a weakness, I think, of Rangers in the sense. Even the game, that 3-1, the Nancy's last dance, so to speak. Celtic, there was loads of chances, and
in the first half,
yeah, exactly. I still don't think the balance is right in Rangers. They don't sometimes press correctly, and they fall in these 2-goal holes. If Celtic were able to do that, that would probably be the eureka moment where if they could just score 2 goals back to back, they might be able to control a game after all this time it comes against Rangers. But I just think everything that goes into it, Martin O'Neill has probably been counting down the days for this one. This just feels like the kind of moment to strike. And Celtic are in that mindset already. Rangers are, maybe 30 years behind them by the time whatever happens at Tynecastle. I just think that game's set up for Celtic more than Rangers. And I think they'll take advantage of it. And it might not be right.
What's the game plan, Youngie? Because Celtic game plan, I mean, they can't play the same way they play the Ibrox in the back-to-back games in the League Cup. But what do they do in terms of their setup and approach to make it different? Because when they try to play Rangers at their own game, they kind of long ball stuff and they get battered. And they get out of the cup tie having barely the shot and goal, which was it was a resilient defensive performance, but they can't rely on that. The two goals down in the league game, and it was 2 going on 5 or 6, and they managed to kind of come back. But that second half performance, I think, was in part Rangers retreating into a defensive shell and Celtic throwing caution to the wind, so they can't play that way either. So I just wonder what the game plan is going to be. I think Rangers in the full-back areas, especially if Roman's injured, you think that left side, I mean, see Motherwell really exploiting that left side of the defence. But then Dyson Maida has a lot of joy on the other side, up against if James Tavernier comes in there, do you play him wide? But I guess you've got to play him through the middle. So then where's your white? The white men are going to have to step up and get at the Rangers full-backs. Then you look at the Rangers the way they play, will they change it? They've got this 4-2-2-2. You think, do you throw an extra body in the middle of the park and try and win that area? Like they did. I mean, the first half under Wilfred Nancy at Celtic, his first half against Rangers at New Year, was Celtic completely dominated the middle of the park and should have been out of sight by half time. Yeah. Then Rangers made a tactical tweak, and then Celtic's shape just fell to bits in the second half. So I don't know. That's what intrigues me, because Celtic haven't really found a way to play against Rangers for a long time. I mean, in the cup, even get back, like say last season, they struggled a wee bit against them. So Martin O'Neill and Sean Maloney and the guys are going to have to figure out a new game plan to combat Rangers. I mean, they should really be looking at the Motherwell game plan, but have they got the players that can do that in this stage? I think they do. So I think you can have a bash at something like that, which is almost like a false front line.
Yep.
Dyson Maida has a bit of that anyway, but you don't really want Dyson Maida coming deep, because let's be honest, his best work's done facing the goal.
Yeah.
So in my head as well, Mick, I was probably thinking the name the bench yesterday, like Callum Osmond. It'll definitely come too early now. The fact that
it's not happening.
Exactly, just nowhere near it yet.
He played 45 minutes for the other day, didn't he? But
it's not the fact. It's the fact that
he's played less than an hour of top team football for Celtic. I mean, if they can stick him on a bench, then fair enough. But it's very much a kind of. I mean, he 3 substitute appearances, and they scored a good goal against Rangers and looked lively for a few minutes in Denmark before he got injured. Yep. But there's no real evidence to suggest that that's the kind of guy you can rely on. It might be a Hail Mary at the last 10 minutes if he's kicking about, but I don't see him being a viable option at any point in time.
No, I agree with that as well. I just more you was probably hoping that maybe in the last couple of weeks, I know he's been back in training, like just a couple of bench appear. I just think it's that there is a glaring weakness in the sense that it probably becomes Forrest, Yang and Maeda. Then you just revert back. You Forrest then needs to come back to the starting lineup. I don't think Taneki can start after the last two.
No.
So you need to commit to Forrest on the right, Yang back to the left. He gives you a kind of...
But then Forrest wasn't great when he started last week either. I mean,
I don't think there's an alternative. That's the thing, that Celtic are so... Ian Natural can't start. It's like a game of... It's like one of those problem solving. You're trying to get the chicken across.
It's time for Joel Mvuka.
Oh, there they are.
It's time for Joel Mvuka. The secret weapon. It's time to unleash Mvuka on the left or right.
Adamu as well. They're all...
Adamu, I forgot
that. The names yesterday.
Well, look, whatever happens, guys, we'll be here to cover it all on the Record Celtic podcast. But for this week's show, I think that brings us to the end of the Record Celtic podcast, brought to you by NordVPN. Mick, Graeme, it's always an absolute pleasure.
Thank you, mate.
Right, guys, catch you later on. Enjoy the rest of the sunshine today, hopefully.
We'll try our best.
A bit of bank holiday sunshine.
Thank you very much for listening and watching at home, and we'll be back next week. Cheers.